everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ben Shapiro Destroys His Pajamas with Pee-Pee and Poo-Poo.
I love this show.
No, I'm sorry. I swore before we started recording I wouldn't accidentally call this show Ben Shapiro Destroys His Pajamas with Pee-Pee and Poo-Poo, and I fucking did it.
I didn't hear you do this, so I think this is a birdie for this
I think it was implied.
To be fair, that's just any interview with Ben Shapiro.
Oh boy, no! This show is not called Pee-Pee and Poo-Poo with Ben Shapiro. It's Jukebox Zeros, or should I say for this month, Jukebox Spooky.
Yeah, we're in Halloween month. It's October. Yeah. It's no longer Christopher month. It's no longer Christopher month.
It's no longer the month of Christophers.
No, it's the month of scary music.
In retrospect, I just realized you could have gone with Jukebox Fearos, but no.
I think we should go with Jukebox Gyros for next month for Greek food awareness.
Is that
euros.
November?
No.
If there's a month of Latin music, call it Jukebox Weirdos.
Oh, there we go.
Anyway, I'm Lils.
I'm Patrick.
And we're already going off the rails here, so should we just apologize for that real quick?
Yes.
All right, here's the apology section. I'm sorry. Got anything to apologize for this time around, Pat?
Nope. I still forgot what I was going to apologize for last time, so I'm sorry for that.
And I already apologized for the Ben Shapiro thing. I'd like to apologize personally to Ben Shapiro. I'm not sorry for the little crack I just made. I'm sorry he's Ben Shapiro.
I would have to back you up on that.
Yeah,
that
must be rough for him, having to go through life being Ben Shapiro.
Well, let's
hoping for a sudden and swift recovery.
Yeah. Or death.
You know what that was? Epic.
That was super epic.
Why don't we
crushed by logic and reason.
Why don't we introduce our epic guests, Pat?
Yeah. Well, they are from the local progressive metal rock jazz trio. They both play Chapman sticks. We got Josh Goldberg and Tyler Kent of Geff in the studio today.
Hello.
Thank you very much for making your way out to the olfactory here in Ayer, Massachusetts.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
excited for all the smells.
Yeah, we got some scents. We have 3 cats.
Yep.
Which I usually try to check in with my guests to make sure that they're not allergic, and this time I forgot, but Josh was prepared.
That's something you could have apologized for.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, Josh.
That's okay. I'm sorry.
Cats.
Yeah, we got the scent of cats. We got the scent of contraband THC vape.
Yep, that's true.
Because Charlie Baker can't do nothing.
Actually, this was legally acquired at the Gage Cannabis up the street. There, it's a legal wax.
We got some absolutely delightful night shift brewing alcoholic beverages here.
Yeah,
very tasty.
Based out of based out of Everett, Mass. Actually, really good brewery.
Made with real owls.
Yeah, you can really taste the extract of hoot.
It's quite a hoot. Extract of hoot.
I'm not sure what that was.
Anyway, yeah, thanks for coming out, and you didn't bring the sticks. That's fine.
We did not.
No.
You didn't hear it earlier, but they were having a jolly old time on Pat's MIDI guitar.
Oh, that's right, on the DG20 that I got. Actually, my dad found that somewhere on Craigslist for pretty short money too. It's only $100 or something like that. But they're pretty invaluable.
I genuinely love it.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It
right?
made the whole house sound like a Sega Mega Drive game.
Yep.
Oh, you're welcome to borrow it any time you like to make the next Geff record.
Thanks.
Exclusively on the MIDI guitar.
It would be a brave choice for the new decade.
But possibly the right one.
You should just have Pat on it to play. You could bill it as Geff and Pat.
Yeah.
Geff and Pat.
Geff with Pat.
Who's Pat?
It's Smelly Geff.
The Geff smells.
Geff and the Smellman.
Geff smells.
David Geffen's smells.
Seems like we're just chomping at the bit to get into this album, aren't we?
Yeah, this is one of our favorites.
Or maybe we're stalling for time. I'm not sure.
This is my all-time favorite album.
I'm so happy.
Oh yes,
I picked you.
Not to spoil it, but this album, 10 out of 10, good game, would do again.
Literally transcendental.
GG, everybody, GG.
All right. Thanks for another episode of Jukebox Zeros, everyone.
All right, I guess it's. Oh,
God damn it.
that's the end of the show chime right there. I guess we're okay. Bye. No. Anyway, let's get into the album a bit, shall we?
Sure.
Okay, so corn. A cereal grain first domesticated by the indigenous peoples of southern Mexico, corn, also known as maize, has gone on to become a staple food in many parts of the world as a major ingredient in the production of cornmeal, masa dough, corn oil, and bourbon whiskey, and as a dish in and of itself. In its typical raw yellow form, corn is considered a plentiful source of vitamin B, niacin. Oh, sorry, wrong notes, guys. Let me just.
That was a lot. That was some fun facts about corn, though.
Just get through this. All right, Korn with a K.
And
This band from
Sorry, and a backwards R.
This band from Bakersfield, California, is easily one of the first names in nu metal music, the movement in metal music from the mid-90s onward that combined the elements of the genre with elements of funk and hip-hop, emphasizing grooves, riffs, and rhythm, as opposed to traditional metal's complexity and penchant towards adept musicianship. Korn was and continues to be one of the most successful acts of this movement, having sold over 35 million records worldwide with 7 platinum-certified records and command over an incredibly loyal fan base that continues to grow to this day as long as angry teens and tweens feel the need to shop at Hot Topic and think emo music is for pussies. After so many studio albums filled with peaks and valleys of commercial and critical success, however, by the time the 10s hit, the band found themselves in having hit something of a wall. Founding member Brian Head Welch had long been gone from the band to focus on his newfound Christian faith, while founding drummer David Silveria had also exited due to interpersonal tensions, to be replaced with former fill-in drummer Ray Luzier. Their 2010 album, Remember Who You Are, would mark a nadir of Korn's gradual decline, with equally unimpressive sales and reviews that painted the quartet as a band just sort of going through the motions and running on fumes. The band knew they needed to revitalize their sound in order to move forward, but how to go about such a thing? Class?
Well, what year was it? It was 2010?
You need to raise your hand, class. Okay. Yes, Pat.
The year was 2010, right?
That wasn't the question I was asking.
Well, no. What direction would they head in? So I would imagine they would, hook on to a timeless and well-aged musical.
Why dubstep,
trend.
my dear boy?
Yeah, that one.
It's not documented exactly why Korn decided they needed to fuse their tunes with the loud and bombastic sound of brostep, a dissonant and hard-hitting subgenre of dubstep music, but that's what they did in 2011. The end result, which paired Korn's chugging subterranean metal with loud squelching subwoofer-destroying bass synths and drum loops. Album number 10 was titled The Path of Totality. It excited Korn's fans, but received polarizing reviews from critics who either thought the record was okay at best or viscerally despised it with a burning ferocity.
Wow, Korn fans liked it, though.
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Some like it, some...
That's a little kernel of truth for you.
From what I can tell from comments online, some fans vehemently defended, others just treat it as an unperson.
I just can't imagine being the type of person who likes Korn but doesn't like dubstep.
Yeah, that genre on the whole, or at least that one subgenre of dubstep, seemed like the entry point for a lot of people who are just kind of like, I don't like techno music. This is badass.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that Korn fans have standards.
Would you like to hear what some critics thought of this album?
Yes.
Oh, I love this.
Yes.
BBC Music said of the Path of Totality that once the novelty of the squelching space-age din they've birthed fades, what's apparent is how little Korn has to say for themselves these days. The AV Club, in their F-grade review of the record, said, To Korn's credit, The Path of Totality is its most radical reinvention to date. It's also the worst slab of sludge ever shat. And Prefix Magazine declared, it's little more than a 90s nu metal album with some sub-bass and wobble punches thrown in. If you already hate Korn, this is an invitation to hate them even more. If you're a devotee of pre-Skrillex dubstep, well, you've already killed yourself twice. So you could say that we have our work ahead of us.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
this was quite a treat to listen to, and by that, it was hard.
It's like
It's hard.
By that you mean untreat.
It's like if AOL dial-up tone decided to put out an album.
Ooh, yeah, that's pretty good. That's
I'm sorry.
pretty good.
What
Sweet
was the worst slab of sludge ever shat? Is
That was the AV Club's review.
Tiniest slab of
The worst slab of sludge it ever shat.
Oh
Some
man.
nice
That's
alliteration.
excellent.
And
Yeah.
like this is kind of, I was a pretty big Korn fan as an angry young teenager. Like
Oh, sure.
Me too.
like like even to the point where like I bought myself like blank white T-shirts to write their lyrics on and stuff.
I
And
think
Oh, wow.
I think
Oh, yeah.
every American youth that was born like 1985 onward had to have gone through like some really really embarrassing new metal phase
Sure.
in like the late 90s to like
Sure.
the mid aughts or stuff.
yeah, this album's unlistenable.
It really is, and they're not a band who put out like albums that are easy to listen to, like for better or for worse. Anyway, so my sister actually, my sister is like a couple years older than me, bought a copy of the debut record, the '94 debut, like
the
shortly
self-titled
after-
one.
Yeah, the self-titled one.
That's the
like-
one with Blind and
Yeah.
Daddy and Shoots and Ladders.
Exactly. And yeah, she got it like maybe a year after it came out, so it was like still pretty fresh. And I remember at the time like being like terrified of it when I heard it. It was scary. And like
Yeah.
without that context of like, you know, I feel like they just kind of got progressively goofier with each record, or like the shtick got goofier with each record.
It was fresh when it was new.
Yeah.
And then they kept writing the same album.
Was
Exactly.
there any beatboxing on the debut?
Oh yeah.
Or was that okay?
Oh yeah. Right. It's like
It's more like scatting.
it is a new metal scat. No, he does it right in like the second verse of Blind. He just goes.
No, believe it or not, I think he's actually saying lyrics.
He does that on the record too, and I can't tell if he's just yelling lyrics or if it's just supposed to be unintelligible.
It's a little bit of both.
Wait, so you're picturing like Jonathan Davis alone in his palatial estate with just a quill, like just an ink quill, poring over some parchment, writing down, boom, dup dup dum da imam.
I absolutely
Yeah.
expect it to go exactly that way.
By candlelight, of
I
course.
saw a really
By
good
candlelight.
article the other day titled "Visibly Panicked Jonathan Davis Enters Fourth Hour of Scatting Over Vamp."
Was that Hard Times? That sounds like Hard Times.
Yeah, it was. It was
Very
great.
good,
It was
very
just
good.
spot
That's so
on.
good.
Yeah.
Boom, dup, dup, dum, I did it. Help!
He's speaking the language of the gods.
I will say that, like, when I was going through that new metal phase, I wouldn't say, like, Korn was, like, at the top of my list for, like, the bands that I was obsessed with. I was more, like, into Deftones and System of a Down more than any. Yeah. And like, just sort of sidebar, I would say those two bands probably aged the best out of any of the other ones. But I remember being very, very, very big into their 2003 album Untouchables, the one they did with Michael Beinhorn.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one that he produced.
Yeah.
And I actually, after listening to this album a couple of times, I went back and re-listened to Untouchables, and I wouldn't say like it's aged perfectly, but it's still like it's not terrible.
Yeah.
And it's like definitely worlds better than this record, to be sure.
Does that have
That has
evolution on it?
no, that Evolution.
Yeah.
No, that had Here to Stay, Thoughtless, and
Okay.
Alone I Break. Those were the big singles.
Gotcha.
I'm sure this means a lot to people.
Yes, very important.
Yeah.
I had Follow the Leader was one I had because that was the one.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
like an entry point to a lot of people because that's
Yeah.
the one that had the big, successful Todd McFarlane directed music video.
Yeah, the Freak on a Leash.
That was my entry point.
Yeah, that album was huge. That and Issues, I remember, were
Yeah,
both huge when I was.
it was like one
in
of those
ninth
albums
grade.
that very briefly knocked boy bands off the top of TRL for a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
It also had Got the Life, which is the first time I realized that you don't actually need notes in your bass parts. You could just
you could just
have
slap and
clicks
click.
Yeah.
Anyway, you think it's about time we actually got into the music of the album itself?
Oh, there's music.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
That's what you call it.
Technically, yes.
This isn't just new metal memories today.
That's too bad.
So,
Getting
before-
whimsical with new metal.
I wish this was Static X.
Jinko memories.
I
So,
would take Mudvayne over this.
Are we
So-
leaving Trapped out of this?
No, we've already decided as a
Trap-
podcast, fuck Trapped.
yeah, Trapped won't go away is the problem.
Hey, back off. They'll take you on.
Take on anybody.
Is that thing we were saying in the last episode just him sitting on the toilet getting angry at Facebook to write lyrics?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Oh, I accidentally bought the single-ply toilet paper instead of the double-ply. How is this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's fault?
He's like,
There's
"No,
gotta be.
oh, look at, she made a funny face when she worked at a bar.
Help me out here, Charlie Kirk.
Hi, my name is Charlie Kirk.
My face is so tiny.
Yeah, we don't usually get this political either.
There's gonna be a lot to edit out, I feel like. Oh, boy. So, anyway, what do you say we get into the music?
Sure.
So before I actually get into the tracks itself, something I want to just, make first and foremost and clear. Like, this is the album that everyone refers to as the Korn Dubstep album. This is dubstep in the classic sense of the term. That was Blue Notes by UK dubstep artist Mala. See, that's the thing. Like, everyone completely misunderstands what the actual term dubstep means, because dubstep is a genre of music that's been around since the late 1990s. It's had its origins in the UK garage scene, combined with elements of dub reggae and the electric subgenres jungle, grime, and breakbeat. It's structured, rhythmic, ambient, layered. You can make out the very subtle, characteristic wobble to the bass. But chances are you're not especially familiar with that sound here in America, because when you think of dubstep, you more than likely probably think about this.
Oh my god!
That was Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites by Skrillex.
You just gave me like a bad memory of like being at a party in 2010.
Oh,
and, like,
no.
And like someone being like, yo, someone with like gauges in their ear coming by like, yo, you gotta check this out. And,
Oh,
like taking
boy.
my laptop and putting this song on YouTube.
Did we just do ecstasy?
That's it, dude.
That was it.
That's it.
No, the allergy medicine's just kicking it in now.
But anyway, that, like, among people who are more persnickety about electronic music, like me,
Yes.
would commonly refer to that as brostep, as an offshoot of it. It takes the sound of dubstep, distorts it, ups the aggressiveness, and in essence just pours a full can of Monster Energy drink all over it. It was very popular and very successful during like the very early 10s to the mid 10s, and it's the sound that people tend to think of most in regards to the term. Now take that lurching Americanized sound and apply it to the chugging nu metal stylings of Korn, and you get this. That was track 1, titled Chaos Lives in Everything. Funnily enough, co-produced by Skrillex right there. We were just talking about him, and I gotta say, nothing like opening the big Reinvention record with a song about him being hung up on your ex with a bridge threatening to take you, break you, and rape you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, gonna rape you,
Not
F you bitch
great.
now.
Not great.
The best part is the record just goes downhill from there.
Wait, you thought that was the highlight?
Dude, are you kidding? That's like the most musical spot on the entire fucking
Oh
album.
no!
It is.
Oh no!
It is like I mean, like you were saying, I would say people like Skrillex kind of did to electronic music what Korn did to metal music.
It's a match made in
fair.
heaven.
Fair enough.
That's true. So Skrillex was originally from the post-hardcore group From First to Last, right?
That's right. That's right. He got his
he's
start.
pretty young too.
Yeah,
when
he got
started
his.
with them.
Yeah, I think like when he really started taking off as Skrillex, he was like 22 or 23 or something like that.
Yeah. So like listening to the lyrics or listening to the vocal lines that Jonathan Davis is doing, they almost sound a bit more post-hardcore-y to me. Hardcore-y to me than like the sort of like new metal shit that he typically does.
Yes, I would say that Skrillex is a very hardcore-y.
He really is. He kind of looks like Corey Feldman too. Wait, Some say my name.
No, get out of here. We don't need you today, Corey.
Go back on the couch.
See if I don't.
So this was the fourth single off of the album, co-produced with Skrillex, as I mentioned, with additional production from Jim Monty, who has production credits on pretty much every track on the record. It's the only single off the record not to chart anywhere, and this is what we have to look forward to for about 38 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's kind of just more of the shit over the course of the album with the few unpredictable twists.
Yeah.
You guys ever eat Taco Bell?
I've had it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like,
I think you
it's
had
like,
it for the first time recently.
It's like
Earlier this year.
This album reminds me of the
sticks in your throat.
Yeah, this album reminds me of the post Taco Bell bathroom visit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's real spicy.
Like for your ears.
Oh, boy. Yeah. If you listen to this, then you'll shit out your ears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That seems to be what you're saying.
yeah. This is certainly not your granddaddy's corn.
Yeah.
for sure.
You can't
it's a
make a
mission
pipe out of
statement.
this cob.
No, you
So the nicest thing I can say about this song is the joining together of brostep with nu metal, I would say, does work from a stylistic standpoint. Both are fundamentally aggressive and loud genres that are stylistically rooted in being loud and just filled with as much aggressive machismo as possible, at least as far as the US's misunderstanding of the dubstep genre has gone. So this is really just a hat on top of a hat more than anything. Does it make for compelling music, though? I would say no.
Kyle disagrees.
Oh, really? What does Kyle have to say about this?
He has to say he's going to chug a Monster Energy drink and punch a hole in the
Really,
drywall.
this is news. This is news to me, Kyle. But I mean, why would Tyler not? Why would Tyler be saying this if it wasn't true?
I'm saying this.
Sorry, I confused you both for a second.
Oh, it's okay.
They look very, very similar.
I mean, at most, I would actually say the combination of these two genres kind of work too well, if that makes any sense.
If someone
Like to the point where nothing all that new or exciting has been created.
I would agree. Yeah.
This is exactly what I would picture if I hadn't heard this album, but somebody told me that Korn and Skrillex collaborated. It sounds exactly like
Yeah.
those
It's
two
the
things.
sum of its parts, for sure.
Right.
It's like, like music. I feel like just about any living genre of music, like it's got a very like, it evolves and it changes as artists give new spins on it and release new material and stuff like that. And sometimes you there's a big umbrella of like fusion, right, where it's all this kind of thing, and the big celebration of fusion is that you're taking maybe pretty disparate styles and sticking them together. But the nu metal dubstep thing that Korn managed to pull off, I mean, it's like it almost feels like inbreeding.
I could see that.
I could see that.
Right?
No, I'm right there with you. I do. I like a lot of different fusion when it's done well. This is not a good example of that because you're taking two things that are just like too much alike in all the worst ways. Yeah. Nothing is really working in concert with one another.
Yeah, like you're basically just ending up with something that just sounds bloated most of the time.
Yeah, and there's like
Like after you ate Taco Bell.
Yes, of course.
so. I wanted to make note of this. This might be nitpicking. I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but there's something about the production of the vocals that's bothering me, and it almost sounds like too pushed back and like not not compressed well or something like that. Or, I don't know. Like it's not as upfront as you would want it to be.
I wasn't
Not that
paying,
I'm,
like, I
really
wasn't paying
listening.
super attention to like the production on the vocals, but I would say on top of that, like I feel like peak Korn, like with the guitars, they're very like heavy on the bass and like very low end, very sludgy. But here, like, there's just none of that happening. It's just thin. The guitars are just way too thin in order to make room for all of the wub wubs.
It was very dull in that respect too, and it was like a lack of.
That's like I feel like that's very much what it is just because the dubstep, the brostep, we're calling it that.
Whichever.
For that to work, you just need so much body in those synth sounds, and
Right.
and you can't have that competing with the guitar and the vocals, and the result is kind of as we were saying, a lot of the times I can't make out any sort of lyrics or anything. I know that there is singing, probably some notes, but yeah, nothing. It loses a lot of, I guess, clarity and definition.
Yeah, definitely.
So it sounds like we don't really like this very much.
What are you talking about? I love it. This is my all-time favorite album.
You be nice.
I am being nice.
Let's move on to track number 2, shall we?
Yes.
Okay.
Track number 2, titled Kill Mercy Within. So, sounds like a picnic.
Spewing all across the days, bringing existence to its knees. I will manifest my sins and I will kill mercy within. Immersed in this hypnotic.
So before we get into the song, I want to draw quick attention, as I occasionally will, to the YouTube comments on the video I watched to listen to this song.
Oh, good.
Username, and stay with me on this, J&G Hammond's bracket, said of this track, Kill Mercy Within, 9 Inch Nails meets Korn. Fuck you, J&G Hammond's brackets. Simply that. I'm sure the last thing Trent Reznor wants is to be compared to Noisia, the dubstep crew who produced this track.
What an ignorant fucking thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, I just have no words.
Oh, boy.
Some people have opinions, and sometimes those opinions are trash.
It's not even trash. It's just stupid. Oh, it's got electronics in it, so Trent Reznor.
It's electronics and it sounds metally. It must be Trent Reznor.
Honestly,
because nobody else did that.
I mistook Eiffel 65 for Trent Reznor a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of.
I mean,
A lot of
I'm-
electronic
I'm,
sounds.
I'm
you
sure
know?
there were many times when Trent Reznor was blue.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
Yeah.
Seems like a perfectly happy dude to me. I don't.
So, based on what I know of Korn from that embarrassing nu metal phase in high school, there are a few trademarks that people would typically associate with classic Korn. I already mentioned like the very sludgy low endy guitars. I feel like a lot of people associate like sort of more kind of vulnerable lyrics with a lot of Korn tracks.
Sure.
That sort of set them apart from a lot of their nu metal contemporaries. I mean, immediately followed up with threats to fuck you up, of course, because, this is nu metal after all. And, as I mentioned, the thickly produced sludgy guitars, bolstered with heavy emphasis on repeated riffs, making it more akin to a hip-hop record than metal, and one of the most notable trademarks, the bass work of Reginald Fieldy Arvizu.
Oh, yeah.
Which is to say, tuned way the fuck down so you can hear every coil bouncing against the fretboard.
So, for those of you who aren't complete nerds out there, typically rock bands play guitars with 6 strings on it, where the lowest string is an E or whatever the fuck they want to tune it to.
Right.
The gentlemen in Korn play 7-string guitars, so they have an extra
boy.
lower
Holy
string below,
shit.
and they take all those strings and they tune it to A standard. So it's just complete fucking mud because like the human ear can't really hear much below B flat. And and going back to Fieldy, I actually was checking my notes here, and I noticed this was like the first song where I started to hear the trademark like high-end click that you get.
See, that's
out of
the
his
thing.
bass
I
style.
didn't hear it until many, many, many tracks in. Like, for the first however many tracks, I just straight up didn't hear any of that little burger bass.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there.
So like the way he
And you can't
EQs,
have Korn without that.
No, it's completely scooped out, so you're just getting like this like super low range, and then like the like fret noise, like absolute like high end of the fret noise on top of it. It is like, I guess, kind of distinctive, but like also
That's
very
his
silly.
signature sound.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen really closely, at most you can hear it just kind of accentuating stuff. But otherwise, no slap at the bass.
Fieldy definitely didn't get to do his thing on this one. There's a video I watched on YouTube of like the track by track kind of walkthrough of what each song is about and stuff
Oh,
like
wow.
that. And like Fieldy, it's Fieldy, Jonathan Davis, and Monkey talking about each song. And,
Monkey's their guitarist, for reference.
Yep. And,
James Monkey Schaefer.
And every pretty much every time any sort of attention is brought to Fieldy's just like, yeah, that song's cool.
I just want to say that Tyler did way more homework for this than I did. It took me 5 attempts to make it through the album once.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That was a tough one.
It took me about as many attempts for me to it took me about as many attempts for me to get through the Limp Bizkit album we did.
That one was hard. That one was the hardest.
Yeah.
Results may vary. I had to start about
That was a bad
Oh,
one.
fuck, that's great.
Yeah. So this track is also kind of uninteresting and uninspired.
Yeah. And just dull and kind of boring. And I don't know, that riff at the beginning is kind of like fun, but then it just gets silly.
It sounds like it's about to like maybe be a cool song, and then the song starts and it's like, oh nope, it's this.
Yeah, I feel
We're
like
still
that's,
here.
I feel like that's the case with a lot of the songs on here. Because like there are some occasional like touches like, oh, this sounds like this would be a really good riff if it was attached to a different song entirely. Like I actually feel that way about this next song I'm about to. Should we just go into it?
Let's do it.
All right, here's track number 3, My Wall.
The dubstep is just so fucking forced. It's just so fucking forced.
It really is. They're taking the most like, cliche aspects of it and really putting it out there.
It's like every fucking time they're just like, all right, now we got to mute the whole band to put some wubs in.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
great. Now we got to put some squeals in. Mute the whole band. Like it's like it almost feels like oh god, it almost feels like, hey guys, we did dubstep. Hey, check it out, we did dubstep. Look, listen, we did dubstep.
Oh yeah.
I mean, during this time period, that really meant something, and it wasn't just like being annoying in people's faces.
I mean, how many times were failing rock bands in the late '70s, trying to put out disco records?
That's
too.
true.
It's
That's
kind
true.
of. I definitely compare it with that like small pocket of time that this was like really intensely popular to the point where it was affecting other parts of the industry.
This was like about. This is like 2010 to 2012. This is like about the time period where dubstep was like trying to make its way into pop music a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Britney Spears had a song that had like a dubstep bridge.
Yeah,
and,
Taylor Swift, even Taylor Swift kind of like dabbled with it.
Oh yeah. The what was that Trouble?
I forget the title.
Oh yeah,
of it.
Red came out in
That was-
2012. So.
That was about the time of Gangnam Style too, right? Which
yeah, I
has
think
like some
so.
pretty dubby moments.
And like, I would say Gangnam Style has aged a lot better than brostep
I
has.
still like that song. Honestly, some of the stuff the synth does in that song has genuinely influenced the way that I approach my instrument.
Don't tell me that.
You gotta think that next time you introduce a song,
That
it's
was
like, is that Gangnam
I
Style?
think, I think that might have also been like when LMFAO were at their peak. And they had that song like
Party rock anthem.
yeah, Every Day I'm Shuffling and all that, and that had a very squealy sort of manipulated synth. So that probably was just the thing.
Yeah.
Take a synth and just make it sound goofy.
Yeah.
Wubba, wubba, wubba.
I think that, but the thing that
wubba-da.
worked with those two groups, it's specifically those two songs, Psy and LMFAO, is that like they're very self-aware. It was goofy. A Gangnam Style is a fucking joke the entire way through,
Right.
And LMFAO is literally a joke band, and it's so when you present that kind of like dubby bro step style with like a kind of tongue-in-cheek and a wink, it's great. It's great. But then when you're Korn and you're 45 fucking years old and you're releasing song lyrics that are like teen angst song lyrics, like you're emotionally stuck at 13, man.
Well, I think
Yeah.
dubstep should be enjoyed as like it should just be kind of a fun thing. I can't imagine someone actually taking the genre seriously because there's just so much like absurdity that happens within.
Skrillex would like to know your location.
I mean,
Skrillex glowing eyes. GIF.
I'd be willing to bet even Skrillex probably doesn't take it all that seriously for like some of the samples he's used in some of these songs.
Right.
It all just comes back to Korn, who just, I mean, clearly just taking this so seriously.
This is another funny thing that about that track by track video I watched on YouTube for this album is every song there's so this song My Wall is the gist of the lyrics in the chorus. I don't know exactly, something along the lines of I build up my walls, you tear them down. And Jonathan Davis is just like, yeah, this song is kind of about how like I wake up in the morning and I build up my walls and then like people are like tearing them down and stuff.
Really, I would not have guessed that.
Great work, Johnny. Great work, Johnny.
Oh my god.
So this one was not a single. It's the first one not to be produced by big name Skrillex or Noisia. This one was produced by Excision, who, from what I understand, is a huge name in dubstep circles, but I've never heard of him.
No.
I will just admit up front.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
And
Come on the show sometime.
yes, please come on the show, Excision, and review Love Beach with us. Nailed it.
Yeah, you did it.
Lives in Lowell, I think.
Oh, cool.
Is that true?
No.
Okay.
Lives in Tingsboro.
Yeah.
So before we get into the next one, I will just admit really quick, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this. I don't like the song, but I do like that riff that kind of grounds it. That sound of dan-nan-nan, 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 dan-nan-nan. If it wasn't attached to this song, it was attached to like just some industrial song or just a metal song in general, just that kind of fucking rips.
This is
just as a chuggy sort of riff like that.
It was an example of a good new metal riff, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Every human is allowed one good idea at least.
I should hope so. Yeah.
I very vaguely remember the name Excision when kind of my freshman year of college when kind of peers were getting into the dubstep thing, and I feel like I remember it kind of Excision being very 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 like hard bass driven, but not so wubby.
Not so like wubby and aggressive.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Just kind of more kind of point to point riffs, if you'd call them that.
Well, I guess he'll do him.
Yep.
So now we're moving on to track number 4, probably like the best known track on this album. Track number 4, titled Narcissist. You sounded so matter-of-factly right there.
Sure. I've never heard of this song, but go ahead.
Okay, track number 4, titled Narcissistic Cannibal. Sometimes he hates the life that he's made.
Honestly,
but only
dude.
sometimes, guys.
Usually it's all good.
Honestly, dude, same Jonathan Davis.
So this was the second single off the record, another Skrillex-produced one, as well as fellow brostepman Kill the Noise. This one is arguably the most successful off the album, reaching number 6 on Billboard's mainstream rock charts, and number 5 on the active rock charts. No, I couldn't tell you the difference between the two charts.
One's active and one's inactive.
All right, there we go. And an impressive number 2 on the UK-based OCC rock charts. So what I'll first off say is it's a very specific demographic. Not just someone who eats people, but someone who eats people and just thinks they're the swellest.
As opposed to those selfless cannibals, you know.
What if he's only eating like narcissistic people?
If you want to know what he says this song is about, he's like, well, I feel like I meet a lot of people who are like so narcissistic that they're like cannibalizing themselves, you know.
God
and
fucking
so I feel like
damn
I
it.
meat a lot of like narcissistic cannibals.
Yeah, I have a quote right here. It's about me watching people, specifically about. It's about me watching people who are so narcissistic they destroy themselves. They basically eat themselves alive because of their narcissism. That's the gist of the story. So it's not even about an actual narcissistic cannibal. It's about Jonathan Davis looking at a narcissistic cannibal and pointing at the narcissistic cannibal and commentating
And saying
on the
that
narcissistic.
you are a narcissistic cannibal.
Is this
You,
the-
sir, you are the cannibal. You narcissist. You narcissistic cannibal. Are you going to order something from this Burger King?
Uber driver's like, why'd you sit up front?
Sir,
want some
please
mints?
pull up to the next window and
No, sir, this is a Wendy's. Is this a moment where the pot calls the kettle black? Like, is this Jonathan Davis not realizing he's pointing his finger in the mirror?
He could be.
Could
Yes.
be.
But I guess really the deeper question here is Jonathan Davis have enough sentience to be a narcissist?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, maybe this other quote will sort of shine some light on it. In an interview with Billboard magazine, Jonathan Davis said of the Path of Totality that we were dubstep before there was dubstep.
So no.
Expounding on that with tempos at 140 with halftime drums, huge bassed out riffs. We used to bring 120 subwoofers and line them across the whole front of the stage, 60 subs per side. We were all about the bass.
Uphill both
No
ways.
treble.
No, you were new metal. Dubstep was dubstep. It's an easy mistake to make.
So much like the last song, Wills, I kind of liked the organ intro to this song, and then I was like, yeah, this is a cool little riff, very atmospheric, and then the fucking dubstep comes in and completely, shoots it in the foot and just makes it fucking disgusting again.
Yeah, it just kills any subtlety there might have been.
And like those choruses, like you played the first half of the chorus, which like we were all kind of chuckling along, but like I actually didn't mind that half, but like the second half got like way more cloying, and to the point where it just completely destroyed the song for me. And I'm just like, what are you doing, dude?
Those choruses with Jonathan Davis doing his best, like, there's no business like show business voice. Sometimes I hate.
I'm just gonna be picturing Jonathan Davis as the WB frog from now on.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey.
Hello, my ragtime gal.
So out of
Fuck
curiosity,
you, bitch.
boom dum 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 dum. So out of curiosity, I looked up some live performances by Korn. The two biggest singles from Path are still very widely played in their live concerts, and I wanted to see how they, made up for a lack of Skrillex in their live shows. Who are probably, I'm sure, all way too busy to go out and tour with Korn and be their angry dubstep skank boys. Surprise, surprise, they're playing to pre-recorded tracks, which doesn't make me angry so much as disappointed in them. No dig against bands who play to, click tracks and all that sort of stuff, but I'd have respected Korn a lot more if one of them had just taken the time to learn how to make the wub-wubs happen for themselves, and then they could just do more with it in a live setting or something like that.
Especially like in a at least in some small sense, it's a sound that kind of shows up in their earlier music every now and then. It's not to the extent that dubstep does it per se, but it's they're used to doing weird things with effects and
they also they messed around a lot earlier on with like super low frequencies that would eventually kind of become a hallmark of dubstep too.
Right.
But like they were saying about like bringing all those subwoofers on stage, because they were all like I mentioned before, they're all dealing with like these subsonic guitar and bass tones.
Can you imagine them in like a small club with
Yeah,
before they got big, right?
I don't think
like,
they actually had 120 subwoofers.
I mean, obviously that, but every band starts somewhere, and like every band at one point was a local band, right?
Like you're imagining their like Club Bohemia show.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
in like the Bakersfield equivalent of Club Bohemia, just
right, and
rocking that sweaty
with the
face,
Bakersfield equivalent of Mickey Bliss falling asleep in the corner. This is a joke exclusively for New England people.
Oh man!
But yeah, the bassist is just like rocking out on his fucking 4x10 goddamn Ampeg or something.
Yeah.
And like he's still tuned to drop A, and it's a 4x10, so it can't actually like produce those notes.
No.
So you're just getting. You're just getting like the little effect of when someone just like plays their subwoofer too high in their car, so like the exterior just sounds all rattly.
Right, and
Or it's just not audible at all. Because
I feel robbed from that I didn't get to go to those shows.
Oh, I can just imagine the small PA's lounge stage, just with all their amps piled on top of each other, and they're standing about 10 feet in front of the stage.
Oh, they were absolutely all of them. I definitely, Korn is definitely one of those bands that like all those like shitty experiences that we've all had like playing in local bands, like they probably also did too.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Like in their own like shitty Bakersfield scene.
The Tuesday night at fucking PA's with like two drunk people in the audience that are telling them to like, why don't you just sing regular? And like Jonathan Davis is scatting. And
That bartender just perpetually scowling.
yeah.
But then Bakersfield Mark K comes and threatens him. that might be an edit point.
I'm not sure if Mark K listens to this though.
I'm sure.
Oh my god! I also I want to take this moment to say that with a band member named Head, they really missed out on an opportunity to call the rest of them Shoulders, Knees, and Toes.
Really did. One of them was Fieldy Snuts, which was like that was the joke. Fieldy Snuts.
Nope, that's too try hard. That's a try hard name right there.
Maybe he should have been Fieldy Shoulders. Just give me a back rub sometimes. And if you want to.
Is that how Fieldy sounds?
Shit.
Yeah, he talks like Jay Leno.
Little known secret.
That's a good one, Fieldy.
Jay Leno moonlights as Fieldy.
That's Monkey talking right there.
I would probably enjoy this band a lot more if when you finally get to hear them talk, they just have like the Wisconsin, just we pack up our MPEGs into the Ford Contour and go down to PA's Lounge and play a show.
And then after the show's over, we just drive over to Denny's. They're open so late. You can get a coffee and a short stick. Oh boy.
My moon over my hammy is cold.
I'm gonna write a song about it. Let's move on to track number 5, shall we? Track number 5, this one is titled Illuminati. So this is another one from Excision with some additional production from Downlink, who I also have not heard of, but I'm sure they're very lovely people, maybe. This song, I would say, is notable in that it's one of the few times that Davis makes an attempt to switch up his typical lyric writing style. Like, if you know Korn, you probably know that the majority of Jonathan Davis's lyrics are about how life has fucked him up and now he's going to fuck up life or something like that.
It's about the jocks who used to tease him in gym class.
Whether by
basically.
society or his peers or his understandably, very traumatic childhood and how he's going to get revenge. But on this one, you bet your sweet patoot that he's going to take off his shirt, put on his Alex Jones hat, and pull back the curtain and tell us about the secret cabal that's promoting disease, raping hope, and eating up our souls.
Is it?
So I guess it's still a song about how he got fucked by society. Yeah. I mean, this presumably is meant to be their big political, I can see the strings red pill kind of song, but really all it's saying is the Illuminati are, and get this, bad.
It's true. Illuminati is the fanciest word that dumb people know, for sure.
The Illuminati made climate change.
Yeah. Yes.
They made it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, they were in their Illuminati laboratory late one night when their eyes beheld. Anyway.
Honestly, I'm just glad they're not blaming the Jews this time.
Well, he so
give it another 10 years.
He talks about in that interview.
They're gonna tour with Trapped, and then it's just all over.
Oh
no. Well, he talks about in that in the track by track interview thing. He starts off by saying, just the Illuminati is something I've always been interested in. If it's real, cool. If it's not cool, it's just a pet project of mine. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay. He sounds like that. He sounds like he's really, really interested. If he's just like, if it's real, okay. If it's not real, that's also okay.
Well, then he goes
on. That really
to say,
shows how much interest he actually has in that.
Well, then he goes on to say, So this song is specifically about how I feel like Obama is an Illuminati puppet.
Oh my!
No.
He's just dragging America down to the worst it's ever been.
Oh no!
Jonathan Davis.
I was just joking about the red pill trapped thing.
Oh no, we got there.
Jonathan Davis is a narcissistic cannibal.
I believe that. Let's getting back to more savory sort of stuff. Like on the note of Davis's lyric writing, I'm always kind of confused whenever I see, like, in reviews and stuff, Korn described as a band that's more emotionally mature and unafraid to be seen as vulnerable, when Davis's writing really hasn't really advanced much past the level of angry teen poetry, and he's almost 50 by this point. I mean,
imagine being that person for 25 fucking years.
I mean, granted, poetic, angry teens should be allowed to have music to call their own and identify with, but he's almost 50 and still singing about people, probably bullies a lot of the time, fucked him up. Like, and it's their fault. It's the same kind of unease I get whenever I hear Rivers Cuomo still singing about picking up teenage girls.
It's like
Oh, is he still doing that?
I think so.
I haven't checked
I
it.
believe
gotta
it. I
imagine.
believe it.
But it's like, this guy is in a band that has like they're by all monetary and numerical means like very successful.
Oh, sure.
He's a multimillionaire. I think it's safe to say that.
They have their own coffee.
Yeah. Get some fucking
Corn
therapy,
beans?
dude. But it's like get some therapy. And like I'm a proponent of like mental health awareness,
Right.
and seeking help when you need it, and it being strong enough and being vulnerable enough to admit that like in dark moments in your life you need help. Everybody needs it.
You need to talk to someone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jonathan Davis, get some fucking help, man. You're 50 years old. You're singing about bullies. Like, what are you doing?
There's been interviews where he's just been like, my music is my therapy. I don't think that's enough.
No, it's not working. It's not working.
At the risk of sounding...
You can do both. You can have the music and talk to someone.
It will make your music better.
You can literally afford, like, some of the best.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the risk of sounding cynical, I wonder sometimes, like, how much the industry encouraged him to like keep writing those types of lyrics to the point where he's just sort of like in this mode where he needs to be in this state of arrested development.
I could see that.
I could too.
Because that was a huge, like,
That's
you
the
brought it up
moneymaker.
before. That was a huge part of what
Yeah.
made them successful in the first place. Was
And
that sort of emotional
that probably just makes
vulnerability.
it even worse for his own mental state, because like now the things that he tried so much to like distance himself from and get away from, now that's basically his bread and butter.
It's his identity almost.
It's his identity, and it's like, yeah, like you said, it's
what a terrible thing to like have to for that to be your meal ticket.
Yeah.
I've brought this up, I don't know if on this show, but I've definitely said it before. Like, one of the most fucked up things about the music industry is their tendency to exploit people with mental illness, and we've seen it time and time again.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've heard from reviews about their latest album, The Nothing, that like it kind of strays from that formula lyrically. So maybe they're starting to improve with it or something.
I did actually listen to one of the tracks from that record just for context, and it is like it's noticeably more in like a heavy metal direction and less like rap metal, and more like they're trying to appeal to the same sort of people that listen to Mastodon and shit, just like detuned metal and
I got
like
more
kind
of a like
vocals.
I got more of a kind of Five Finger Death Punchy kind of vibe from it, but
That's
like
unfortunate.
darker. Yeah, that is unfortunate.
That's too bad.
Going from Korn,
I was being nice.
It's
you go from Korn to
miles.
Five Finger Death Punch. Like, can you?
Is that a lateral move?
It might be a backwards pass there.
Out of the frying pan into the frying pan.
Out of the frying pan into a slightly different frying pan. Let's move on to track number 6, shall we?
Yes.
Track number 6, which I immediately hate the title in and of itself. Track number 6, titled "Burn the Obedient." Another dummy thick corker from the bad boys of Noisia right there.
How many C's did that have in that?
Enough.
THICCCCCC.
Dummy thing.
All the C's you need, baby. So there's too much going on here. The production's way too fucking thick.
It is. And not in a good way.
Yeah, it's not. I take that. It's
are
not
you
dummy
scared?
thick.
Are you scared?
It wishes it was dummy thick. We're 6 tracks in, and I figured out a dirty little secret that I think this record wants to keep quiet. You see, it's been lying to us this whole time, right under our noses.
What?
Right to our faces. It's gotten away with just feeding a blatant and obvious lie. And that lie is quite simply this line in the production credits: Ray Luzier, drum/percussion. There's no fucking way that Ray Luzier played on this album. Every drum beat sounds exactly the same down to the letter. They're clearly loops.
It's also just horrendously mixed every time. The drums That whoever mixed this album just doesn't know what drums are, and where to place them.
Well, they're. I brought this up before. The vocals too. Everything just sounds really dull and digital, and the drums, like there's a real lack of warmth to them.
Yeah, there's no telltale signs that it was anything close to a drum kit. Like you got kick, you got hi hat, you got snare drum,
And you got noise floor.
and yes, and that's the bare minimum of like electronic loops, like right there. There's no tom drums, there's no cymbals or anything like that. Like a person would want to play.
There's from what I can kind of gather from just kind of looking at just in different places where he talks about this record, this album in particular seems to be a pet project of Jonathan Davis and other and he's kind of the electronic music enthusiast of the group, and he kind of spearheaded this whole thing, and everybody else, because you'll see like in the credits, like Fieldy is credited for some guitar, and the drummer is credited for like some programming here and there and stuff like that. It just kind of seems like that he wanted to do this thing, and everybody else just kind of tried to fill in where they could.
Yeah, they weren't really taking on a specific role per se in a band, but more just sort of filling in on his project.
Yeah.
If Ray Luzier did actually play on this album, it would have had to have been just explicitly a guide track, because in like the final version, there's just no organic drums to be found anywhere. I can tell you that.
There was in one of the later tracks, I remember hearing like a short drum loop, and now I can't remember which track it was.
I could definitely see like a studio moment where, one of the band members lays down something really cool, and Jonathan Davis is like, that doesn't really feel
sound
like
like
Korn
dubstep
to me, and they go through this process, and he's like, okay, and they change it. He's like, oh, maybe you could do something like a little more dubby, or like maybe a little less, or something like that. And they go through this process.
Is that
for
your
like,
Jonathan Davis voice?
I'm Jonathan Davis, and I approve of this message. They go through this process for like half an hour for literally every part for every instrument, until it is absolutely the dumbest, most like fucking straightforward corporate bullshit that you've ever heard, where like dudes, 60-year-old dudes in suits who like snort cocaine on the weekends are like, yeah, this is what the kids will like.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
They gave him the Jason Newsted.
Yeah, exactly. Spot on.
Touching back on those live performances too, I made a note to watch Ray Luzier behind his drum kit during the rendition of Narcissistic Cannibal, and very little of what he was actually playing matched up to the percussion that was being piped into the venue. That must have been a really plum gig for Luzier if you think about it.
So they just like completely turned down his drums and in the mix. That's amazing.
Yeah.
He's the fill-in drummer for Korn. Like,
I mean, he's a permanent member now, but that must have been a pretty plum gig though. Like he's getting all the player credits and royalty share from the record, and he didn't have to do much on it. Like maybe this was the band's way of sticking it to their original drummer David Silveria, who they were still kind of on the outs with at the time. Just so they could just be like, hey, Dave, this guy isn't even playing a single drum, and he's cooler than you. I sure do hate Dave, fellow Korn member James Monkey Schaefer. Me too, fellow Korn member Reginald Fieldy Arvizu. You want to go get Sarku Japan? That's how they talk. They only eat mall food, and that's how they talk.
I thought they talked more like, like a little bit more up north.
Oh yeah, that's right.
A little bit more Uper accent.
like a kernel of corn stuck in the giant log of poo that is this album. This guy is now their permanent drummer.
I do remember them being very outwardly and publicly pissed at Head for leaving the band.
I mean,
for Jesus.
They reconciled with Head eventually, though.
Yeah, he's back. He's back now. I think this is the last album that Head is not on.
Yeah, because he left the band just like, I'm Christian now. I can't be in a metal band. And then like his pastor or whatever was just like, make that money.
Has he heard of Creed? Has he heard of Creed?
Yeah,
that's true.
You can. It's fine, Head.
Wait, are they actually touring again, or are
Creed?
they
I don't
officially
know.
Alter Bridge?
I don't know.
Oh man.
I mean,
I think Alter Bridge just put a new record out.
oh, then it's got to be Alter Bridge.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, Tremonti's like allowed to be more metal and alter bridge. That's the difference between that and Creed.
If that guy that's in that viral video can like stand up on a stage and gangster rap and then also yell Jesus Christ like 600 times, and that's cool. Like head, you can be in a metal band, dude. It's cool.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. So I'm going to play these next two tracks in quick succession because they kind of sound similar. Here's track number 7 titled Sanctuary. That was Sanctuary, and here is track number 8 titled Let's Go.
Let's go! I'm taking over. Won't be led astray like nothing lasts long. I gotta get away.
Let's Go featured production by Noisia, while Sanctuary features Downlink with additional production from J-Devil. Jonathan Davis's DJ name.
Oh no, J-Devil, that's right.
That's his DJ name.
Man,
J-Devil.
This, according to the track by track,
this will be good.
So the reason it kind of sounds like a revamped throwaway track is because it was in fact a revamped throwaway track.
Let's Go or Sanctuary,
Sanctuary,
or both.
Sanctuary.
Because I could believe both.
Yeah, and
Sanctuary in particular was really bad. My only note for that was, man, I hate dubstep so much. That's all I could say about it. It was just I was just over it so much.
does anybody else feel like Jonathan Davis gets up every morning and says to himself, "I'm so much fucking cooler than Rob Zombie"?
I'm sure Rob Zombie isn't thinking about Jonathan
Not
Davis.
even a little bit. Not once.
No,
Not
he's
once.
he's making some fucking movie.
Oh yeah,
I had a joke, but now it's gone.
just like Jonathan Davis's emotional maturity.
Yeah.
So I
yeah,
play
go
these
ahead.
in chunks because, and I really hate to concede to this because it's really unprofessional in terms of impartiality, but I legit couldn't think of anything to say about either of these two tracks as individual tracks because, once again, these just sound like brostep. And I hate to keep tossing this platitude out over and over again, but there's just so little variation to each track that it's literally a case of once you've heard one, you've really heard all of them.
Yeah.
I said earlier that the marriage of Korn and brostep is a smooth one with a lot of pre-existing connective tissue, but it doesn't sound interesting or exciting unless you're already on board with one or the other. Do you like Korn and nu metal? You'll probably enjoy this without any pretensions whatsoever. Do you like Skrillex and brostep? Ditto to that. I may even say that the joining together of these two hobbles both sides more than they enhance them, because both have to work against each other's strengths to their detriment.
Yeah.
Like, out of curiosity, I went back and re-listened to some of Korn's discography leading up to this, as we mentioned, and for all the meat-headed reputation the band has by mere association with nu metal, in a pinch, they do have the capacity to do some really interesting experimental stuff with ambience and atmospherics, especially on Untouchables.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that sort of thing happening here, because if they were to engage too heavily in that, there wouldn't be any room for all the wub-wubs from Skrillex and Noisia and crew. While at the same time, the producers can't go too crazy with the sound manipulation either, because that would distract from Korn, and they need to work around all the quiet parts that were clearly present in the original recordings.
It's almost like somebody that didn't have any more good ideas said, "You know what's a great idea? Letting other people come up with good ideas."
That's exactly what
Pretty
this
much,
is.
yeah.
That's exactly what the main problem of this record is. It's just bringing in other people to try to change up the formula, and like it never really fucking works.
So like it's like a sitcom that starts bringing in new characters and only last for one season. You know the first episode that happens, that's going downhill.
This is their poochie, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is also, I don't know if this is too nerdy to really get into, but this is also this is 2011.
Yeah, that's when this album was released.
This is the height of the loudness war. You wanna go into that?
Yeah.
And we've mentioned over and over again how this is a difficult record to listen straight through, and that's not just because the songs are bad. It's because it's very, very fatiguing. There are no dynamics.
Oh, yeah,
You are getting pretty much maximum loudness
That's a
for
huge
the
part.
entire duration of this record, and it's like somebody took dubstep and Korn and thought, let's make these two things less dynamic and put them together.
Yeah.
Because Korn knew how they had a sense of dynamics at times.
They can do quieter, more introspective moments in a pinch.
Sure.
There's been tracks like, Daddy or No One, or like Hollow Life, or on their new album, they have a track called Surrender to Failure, which is literally just Jonathan Davis piano and like some kind of industrial percussion in the background.
Yeah.
Sure.
They can do that. They just can't do it here.
Do you think a song title, like with how deep and meaningful Jonathan Davis makes each one of his songs, do you think a song title like Burn the Obedient means that he's not into BDSM? or if he's really into
your
BDSM?
guess is as good as mine. Or maybe he's into fire play.
That's what I'm saying. Or like maybe he's really into BDSM.
This is probably like the worst of the track by track interview. He just goes, "Yeah, I heard someone say that, and I just thought, man, yes." Hard cut to Jonathan Davis with drool just oozing out of his mouth for 5 minutes straight.
It's too bad you're not going to be able to hear that headphone jack noise on the actual recording. I'm going to have to edit that in post. So.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, let's just get a... Oh, boy. Is it still doing that?
All right, there we go.
Okay.
Very good.
So
Anyway.
So this is it goes to Burden the Obedient, and Jonathan Davis just goes, "Yeah, I heard someone say that, and I just thought, man, like, it's almost like it'd be cooler if someone did that, you know?" It's like, I look down at the world and I just see ants going around working, no life.
Because he read Watchmen that day.
Exactly.
Oh my! It's
He saw Watchmen that day.
It's physically painful, man. It actually hurts.
Wow. That's a really cringy shit right there.
If you want to know,
What about this thing? What if we did the opposite?
if you want to know what a Korn song is about, read the chorus lyrics, and that's pretty much.
It's about as straightforward as it gets.
So it's at this point in the album that I'm starting to realize this isn't really like a legit full-length studio album so much as it is closer to like a remix album more than anything. I mean, remix albums are great for fans who want to hear a different take on a song, or like for club DJs like me who want something dance floor friendly. It's not a compelling, like, actual canonical, in the studio album discography kind of album sort of thing in the slightest.
It does feel, because it's only like 36, 37 minutes, thankfully, it does kind of have that feeling more of like an EP than a like full realized album.
None of the songs ever go over like 4.5 minutes either.
Right.
I definitely had the thought several times while listening through the record is, man, if they just narrowed this down to like the best 3 or 4 songs, like this would have been fine.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been good, but it would have been, it would have been like,
It would have
just
been
a cool thing they did.
It would have been tolerable.
Yeah. Here's the experiment. Judge for yourself. But instead, fuck.
Yeah, we had to get 11 iterations of this.
Oh man.
Oh boy. So anyway, now seems like as good a time as any to move on to track number 9. Oh boy. Track number 9, the first single off of the album, titled Get Up in the Morning and Have Yourself a Nice Bowl of Cornflakes.
See, I could actually believe
With
that's
a
the
K.
full title.
Oh, I wish, but no.
Have yourself a bag of cornflakes.
Yeah, it seems real to me.
Here's Get Up.
Times are looking grim these days, holding on to everything. It's hard to draw the line. Shut the fuck up, get up.
I'm sorry I couldn't find one that wasn't censored. But nope, the first single off the album, the other big hit apart from Narcissistic Cannibal, unsurprisingly, it's also one of the ones with Skrillex's fingerprints all over it. It reached number 21 on the rock songs chart, number 27 on the alternative songs charts, number 10 on the mainstream rock chart, and number 8 on the bubbling under Hot 100 singles charts.
Bubbling under top 100.
Bubbling under top 100 singles in your area want to meet you now.
Yes, come talk to hot
Under 100s.
anthropomorphic puddles of muck.
That are under 100 years old.
Talk to the molasses monster from Candyland. So, referring back to my last point about how all the songs sound alike, until we started listening to these again, this is the only song off of Path of Totality I could remember by name after it was over from every other time. And that's only because I knew it as the song where they say "get up" a whole bunch.
Yeah, I'm sensing a theme here between Get Up and Let's Go.
Let's get up and go.
Come on, guys.
They're trying to go
Dubstep album, come on, let's do this.
and
It's
go
going to
down.
be real neat.
Get up
That-
and go
that
down
kind-
to the Packers game in our Ford Contour.
That would tie into how
jeez.
that would tie in once again to how J Devil was the only one excited for the album.
What,
Everyone else is just trying to get some Z's, and he's just like, "Come on, guys, come on, up! I got some oatmeal cooking on the stove. Come on."
What did he say about this one?
Shut the fuck up, get up.
That's all he said.
That's. I don't remember what
But
he said
yeah,
about this
any
one.
other ones I couldn't tell you the title of without them being written down beyond, oh, this is the one that's a little slower than the others, or oh, this is the one where you can kind of hear Fieldy's like
Clickety clack.
Clickety clacks.
Sounds like my cat Gus when I need to trim his nails and he's walking across the hardwood floor. It's like,
Oh, Gus.
isn't that cute?
And referring back to my previous point about how Korn's tracks and the brostep tracks are so balanced that neither can break out of on their own in any real way, I've managed to procure this audio clip. It's Get Up, but with all traces of Skrillex's production removed. I guess the person who made this went into like the stems of each track and just took away all the Skrillex parts. And here's what we're left with.
Times are looking grim these days, holding on to everything. It's hard to draw the line. Shut the fuck up, get up. Shut the fuck up, get up.
This is not much better.
It's not much better, but like that's enough instrumentation. Like that's plenty.
I actually really like the melodic part of the chorus.
Oh, yeah?
For this one,
it's a good
this is one
melody.
of the ones that I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fine.
Fair enough.
And then they just go full.
I thought
Korn
that
on it.
this song in general had probably some of the better use of dynamics, whatever that means within the standards of this record. Because there were a few like A sections that were like a little more stripped back that kind of gave it a little more gave the like the wub wubs more gravitas, I guess.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought that clip that you just played was fucking way better than the original.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, not like
Well, it was more appealing to listen to because it was less fatiguing, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
it sounded like a fucking song instead of a fucking abortion.
Oh boy. So, touching back on like the whole general concept of this album, that Korn does dubstep, that seems to be a recurrent trend with Korn in that every time an album where they try to go in a specific conceptual direction doesn't sell all that well, they either go all in on their baseline sound or chase a trend of the day, whether it was going all in on the rap half of rap metal in the late 90s or putting out some chopped and screwed and crunk mashup versions of their tracks in the mid-aughts. And well, this, like their previous album was supposed to be a return to roots, and it sold very poorly and did crappily with critics. So of course they would be like, oh, let's try this thing instead. This is what everyone likes right now.
Well, okay, guys, like you can do the return to form thing. You just have to like write good songs like that. You can't just return to the audio, like the sonic aspect of it. You have to like write good music too.
I think the thing is that they're returning to something that only really sold well in the first place because no one had ever heard people do that before.
Right, exactly.
And now it's just kind of a cliche at this point.
Yeah.
What do you think they'll do if the Nothing sells worse in the long run than anticipated? Maybe like, I don't know, a Korn trap album or something?
Gospel album.
Okay. I'm sure Head will be down with that.
Yeah, Head will come back into the band. They'll kick out Loser.
Wait.
Losier.
Wait, Head leaves again?
Yeah,
is Head back now?
back in the band.
Okay, excuse me.
Head's been back. He came back after this album.
Oh, my
But
bad.
no, I believe he leaves
He
it.
found Jesus and came back.
This is.
I
I
believe.
found him, guys.
He's
I bel-
over here in my bread.
I would believe he'd leave again because he just has like a brain fart and is just like, oh no, I'm doing metal. That's bad for Jesus. And he calls his pastor. He's just like, we've been over this.
I just want
Metal's fine.
I want to take this moment to personally apologize for Head for not realizing, or to Head for not realizing that he was back in Korn. So I'm sorry, Head.
Well, to be fair, we were like making fun of him earlier and how he like left and decided that metal was bad.
Yeah, I'm not
Even though
sorry
his
for
pastor
that.
was like, "Oh, fuck you, dude! Like, you make some good money."
Get that money.
I'm not even a little bit sorry for that, but I am sorry. Like, if you're listening right now, Korn, and I guess Jesus,
Mr. Head.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Mr. Brian
First name
Welch.
Potato.
If
I'm also sorry for that.
if you're listening right now, Head, and I guess also Jesus, because you guys hang out, like, my bad, bro.
Man, speaking of Head, do you guys remember the band Machine Head by any chance?
Yeah.
I do. I don't think I've ever heard anything by them.
I literally someone on my feed posted a new song by them specifically because the lyrics are like really fucking bad.
Oh yeah. Why don't
which-
you indulge us?
Well, first of all, like there's like someone had posted a picture that was like some metal bands in the 90s dabbled in new metal. Some bands went full tracksuit. Talking about fucking Machine Head. But yeah, so they have a new song called Do or Die that was just released on October 11th.
Okay, I already hate it.
So yeah, chorus: one life, one will, black heart, black still. Ignore the hate. It's do or die, motherfucker. Die, motherfucker. My hate is real. This fire it kills. No other choice. It's do or die, motherfucker. Die. Sure, that's fine. Very nice. Verse 1. Verse 1. Get ready.
There's more. There's more.
Oh, there's more. Get ready. Verse 1. I don't give a fuck about you haters and your hates.
Oh, boy.
You assholes better duck. I'm coming swinging out of the gate. This is Machine Head, a band that's, I think, been around since the late 80s, early 90s. So I'm guessing these gentlemen are in their 50s.
Okay, I mean, if
Late
you're trying to
80s?
make like a, just sort of a crazy metal song, I'm gonna get you. You don't do that by calling them assholes.
Well, no. There's
Hey,
more.
man, that's not cool.
I mean, asshole, like, that's a word you don't want to be called, but that's also like, soccer dad. Like,
Maggie
you
is fine,
assholes!
This literally sounds like a lifetime's worth of drinking lead-lined water.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it gets worse. So, yeah, you assholes better duck. I'm coming swinging at the gate. There's not a metal band.
You assholes, get off my lawn! I'm coming to the gate! I'm coming to the gate right now! I have a dog! He's asleep right now, but I have one! God damn it!
There's not a metal band I ain't influenced. Now I'm calling out the Judas.
Oh,
Every band's
God.
the fucking same, and all I hear is all you bitches commenting your chatter.
Oh, my
We'll
God.
do it over, you hated bastards.
This is
there's question marks because the person who transcribed this is not sure.
This was released in 2019?
This was released like days ago.
Oh, no.
Actually, I think it was released. Wait, is today the 11th? It was released yesterday.
This is
This is my favorite thing about the new, not really new, I guess, but the lyric video trend of the last few years
Yeah.
is that you can really just see what bands
Are really bad at lyrics.
Yeah.
All right, so there's more. You didn't hear a fucking thing. We're not chimera nor strapping young lad. You want to hate it, but you need it so bad. This ain't a paycheck.
Why is he
Machine
going-
heads in my fucking veins.
Why is he going after strapping young lads?
strapping
What
young
did
lad into
What
this.
did Devin Townsend ever do to
He's a
them?
delightful, whimsical musician. Leave Devin Townsend alone.
leave
do anything.
alone.
And who gives a shit about Chimera to even register that as like a reference?
Okay, one more verse and then I'm done. Verse 2.
This might have to be bonus content or like an end like after the theme song sort of
think so.
stinger.
I don't give a fuck about your stupid little scene. reaction videos, and all your pussy little memes.
He's
Talking about memes. The left can't meme.
Is he going to say something about how kids are always on their phones now?
How many fucking...
Does he say anything about Tide Pods?
How much
he
hates
actually
his
went through the
wife.
trouble of editing your cell phone out of your profile picture.
Oh my god. How many fucking bands I gotta bury say a prayer to Mother Mary, welcome to the slaughterhouse, I hear you motherfuckers talk, 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 and then it kind of just gets more sad after that.
Oh boy.
So that's Machine Head, everybody.
they're in their mid-50s now or so, right?
They are, but they
That was
still
like a
think they're
Psycho Stick song.
Oh boy.
They're really.
I really hate when bands reference themselves in their lyrics.
They're really like mad that people are younger than them.
I wish everyone born after 1975 just died.
That's how it.
That really is how it feels. Like what?
That's how it feels.
You guys remember Hill Street Blues? Why the fuck not? What's wrong with you?
Richard Nixon destroyed the White House and we loved it.
I have no idea which band Machine Head is.
They had a song in the 90s. I can't remember what it was called. You might recognize the riff if you heard it. Because that was the only way I knew the song.
It's
Was like I thought this was someone
like,
else.
One or two of their albums, I think, are regularly called, like, you know, best of all time grade sort of stuff for that kind of metal that they do. But this is like, they already went through a dumb new metal phase, and like when everyone else was doing new metal, and they got out of it. Why are they going back?
They're
Return to
double
form.
dipping.
Is it because Five Finger Death Punch is so popular?
It's the lead in the water. It's the lead in the
Okay,
water.
asked and answered right there.
I think 2020 we are on the cusp of a
They're
new metal revival.
They're drinking too much of the candy water.
Yeah.
Tasty water.
Turning the Frog. Nah.
It's like I'm having pop rock. It's like I'm having pop rocks, but there's no pop rocks.
Why are these people complaining about lead in the water? I thought iron is supposed to be good for you.
What are you, a bunch of snowflakes?
You just know that
Destroyed. Left
his
with
hair
destroyed.
just like floats up, and he's
He goes-
surrounded by
he goes-
energy fire.
he
and
goes Super Saiyan.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
Brilliant.
Anyway,
Korn.
edit point. Here's track number 10. This one is titled "Way Too Far."
Way too far.
It's like instead of ever putting in something musically valuable in an instrumental moment, they just use dubstep.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's exactly what happened. All the hooks are just dubstep hooks.
Right. It's just AOL sign-on sounds, and I'll never not say that.
It's dial-up modem.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about this song is that main little riff there, if you want to call it that. The last the last bar of it just sounds like they just I don't know.
This was the last song recorded for the day. They were really jonesing to go to, like, I don't know, fucking
Carl's Jr.
Charles Jr.
Get themselves
As long as there
Because
is a
it's-
sense,
because
I
it's
don't
California.
think they'll notice.
That's true.
Brought you by Carl's Jr.
Ray Luzier had already left for the day, but no one noticed.
I liked those tough guy B sections. They sure were tough.
Tough guy B sections,
Yeah, the B sections there where he starts chanting like in a really tough guy.
where he
voice.
just sounds like he's where he just like sounds like he's perpetually flexing,
I
like
felt
like how Danzig sounds most of the time.
yeah, I was intimidated. I was a little scared. I was like, "Who's this tough guy singing on the microphone?"
I think that's one of those. Is he beatboxing or is he just yelling moments?
Or is he
Gotta
constipated?
check off that box. Too much Taco Bell.
Too much Taco Bell.
Not enough corn. Quorn, corn.
Yeah.
So just because I'm grasping for things to talk about at this point, I'm now going to dedicate the next however many minutes to one of the lesser known heroes with a question mark that's attached to this record. I mean, we've been focusing all this time on Korn, Jonathan Davis, and all their little wubby friends.
Oh, is it Jim Beans?
Yeah, no, it's not Jim Beans, but I am heading in that direction. Unfortunately, there was no Jim Beans on this.
Jim Henson?
No, not Jim Henson either. But
Was there use of a Buenananu knob? No, this is the blub blub blub. No
yes,
Buenananu.
there's no room for Buenananus here.
It's very specific.
I want to talk for a
frequency
second
range.
about the occasional co-producer of this album, Jim Monty. In addition to the Path of Totality, he had a hand in recording and engineering a majority of Korn's albums all the way back through 2003's Untouchables and all the way up to their recent 2019 record, The Nothing. He's also worked with Jonathan Davis on a solo album in 2018, as well as on records by Slipknot, A Perfect Circle, Bush, Jet, and Meatloaf. So he's been around his share of pop rock for sure.
You think this is the guy that's like being like, you know, Jonathan Davis will go to him and be like, "Hey Jim, I've really been thinking about like seeing a therapist or something." And Jim's like, "No, man, you're fine. Like just write some lyrics. Write some lyrics about like get up and let's go."
Put pen to paper. Put that on the page.
Yeah, no, you're good.
See, I was thinking something completely different. Like Jonathan Davis would just come to him and just like, "This is the part where the wub wubs come in," and Skrillex is all like, "Brr, brr, 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 brr," and Jim's just kind of like, "All right."
You think he's the adult in the room?
Well, he's just the engineer most of the time, so he'd have to just do what
He's
they
like,
say.
All right, fair
I
enough.
technically did just record whatever that sound was. Yes.
I'm gonna try to make this sound as tasteful as I can.
Yeah.
Okay, you did want to get a boat.
I think when they were recording this record, he was like, "Man, this really brings me back to Meatloaf."
You know,
The loaf days.
the Mythbusters proved it. You can actually polish shine into a turd.
I believe that.
So I guess Jim did a fucked up bad job.
Yeah. I mean, before you get too attached to him, his is not a perfect record after all. He also had an engineering credit on 2011's 45 rated on Metacritic collaboration between Metallica and Lou Reed, Lulu.
Oh man,
So nobody gets out of this with their hands clean.
2011 was kind of a rough year for
What's
music,
wrong with
wasn't
that
it?
record?
Nothing.
Oh, no. Oh, my dear boy.
we used to have contests to see who could get through that single, the Eye on the Table single.
You
And
can't even get through the song.
How far into the song can you get?
Never mind the album, the song.
That's the sad part. Eventually, we're going to have to cover that. Eventually.
Not anytime soon. We already did the Velvet Underground and Metallica
We're
separately.
taking our time.
We are.
For sure. We ended last season with St. Anger, so take a little break from Mr. Hetfield
Yeah.
for a little while.
I think Lulu was definitely lacking Doug Yule.
I thought you were going to say dubstep.
And that, for that matter, that's really what they were missing. That should have been what brought them into 2011.
So we're finally at the end. Here's track number 11, titled Bleeding Out. So I just want to say up front real quick, I didn't go out of my way to make it sound as unmusically as possible within the first few seconds. That's just how it came out as every clip. That as soon as I hit play, it just went and it took like a couple of seconds before, oh, this is a song and not like, a seizure.
Yeah, the song had a nice little piano intro, and then again,
Yeah.
right into the farts.
It gives you hope, and then it just immediately takes it away.
Yeah.
This was the final track. This one produced by dubstep artist Feed Me, who is a real person and was certainly not a giant talking Venus flytrap.
Feed me, Seymour.
Feed me, Johnny. Johnny D.
Feed me, Dunkaroos. I'm
J Devil.
My note just regarding the cool atmospheric intro you referred to, the way I'd put that was, intro, sad Linkin Park ballad vibe before the Korn starts.
Before the Korn starts popping, you got a little sad Chester Bennington moment.
Can you?
That would have been a good place for them to put some bagpipes in.
Oh,
That's
happens.
another Korn trademark that I don't think they did on this record.
No, they did it the
No,
very
they
end of
did
this song.
in this song.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
that just goes to show how little there's anything fucking rubbed off on me.
No, there's bagpipes on like the last like
That what that
section of the
instrument was?
song. Yeah, that's what it was, and then it was like put through. I don't think it was put through auto tune because it just kind of has that like weird pitchy nature of it.
I think it was just chopped around.
What a fucking disaster.
Couldn't have a traditional Scottish folk instrument on there. That would have distracted from all the atonal whoop whoops. For those listening, Pat is currently attempting to play the song off of his... Oh, what do you know?
Oh my god, that is.
I'm actually really happy with this.
This might just be the best part of the album. Okay, now it's last minute.
Now it's Anya.
Anya.
The only way that could be better is if they segued into
It's Enigma.
Thunderstruck.
It's Enigma.
Oh, that little pitch drop. That little pitch drop there on the bagpipes is pretty sick.
So okay, I just want to say that in my fifth and final successful attempt to listen to this album, because of all of the dubstep, that now that you say that, that's pretty obvious to me that was bagpipe. I couldn't fucking recognize that instrument when I heard it the first time. I was like, great, this is a terrible synth sound.
Yeah, yeah. You got to turn down the modulation on that. It's getting way too pitchy.
Yeah, really though. It's just like wow.
Fair enough. Fair play to that. But you know what? We're finally done. So what do you say we get to our final thoughts? Pat, I have a feeling I have a good idea we all know the answers to all these. Do you consider this to be a worst album of all time album?
I'm going to go ahead and say yeah, it is. I don't often throw that out there, but I think it's definitely a huge misstep. No pun intended. Dubstep misstep.
Oh, boy.
I think it didn't work for the band. There's not really any moment on the record that I found enjoyable. Just kind of like little moments here and there that were tolerable enough for me to like see the whole thing through. But I had a lot of difficulty getting through a record that was like really only 37 minutes long. It felt like a chore.
Longer.
It felt like a chore. And I think, Korn, nu metal, okay, it's a punchline. We all, we can all accept that. And
right.
But we can also at the same time like accept that, we were all children of that era and we all like probably latched on. They were a big force in the suburbs. And I really, I actually listened to the debut record the other day and still like, yeah, I would put this up there like amongst some of the other records that I love from 1994. Sure. And I think they became successful on that one gimmick, and then like they tried to redo it over and over and over and over and over until we get to 2011. And this is like kind of this is what I think is the nadir of them selling out, basically, because they had been kind of heading in that direction and sort of trying to pull it back, and then like getting pulled back into the pitfalls of what the industry wants. And I think like them and the people at the label just didn't know what to do with them at this point. So, like, sure, why the fuck not?
Fair enough. Tyler, same question. Do you consider this a worst of all time album?
Same answer. I'm somebody who generally like really likes that one album out of somebody's discography that's just for some reason different, and even if it doesn't necessarily hold the one hot minutes, and I have fun listening to Saint Anger and stuff like that. It's just like it's a cool document of a unusual point in that band's time. But this album is just fucking terrible. This album is just really bad.
Josh, same question.
So I'm actually struggling with this one a bit because
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So
Because it's your favorite album.
Right. No, but here's the thing. Like, I have a weird taste in music sometimes. Like, I love a lot of really good music. Don't get me wrong. The music that I spend the most time with is in my opinion like the height of song crafting and
like excellent
musicianship.
musicality for sure.
But I also fucking love bad music. Like one of my favorite songs that I heard a couple of years ago is called 11 by Hitchhiker, and the entire hook is literally ah, la, 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 la. I'm not kidding. Wow. And I fucking love it. I can't get enough of it. This is fucking garbage, dude.
I'm so sorry.
I have never in my life, like, again, I have a thing for bad music. It's like eating fast food for me, right? Like it's fun. It's in
the right context,
right? Yeah, it's a good time. And like it scratches like a weird itch that hurts later. Whatever, it's fine. I have never in my life had to actually take 5 attempts to get through 37 minutes of music. And on top of which, broken up by 11 songs, I mean, this is more akin to fucking grindcore than I think we're giving it credit for, like just in terms of song length and pure garbage ability.
I think that loudness war kind of contributes to that too.
Yeah.
It's just very, it's all just very top of dynamics.
It's extremely fatiguing.
So when I say I'm struggling with this, I feel like if I found a worst album of all time, I'd have a great time with it. I'd put it in my car non-ironically sometimes and be like, I got to go back to this at least once a year.
May I recommend Angelic to the Core by Corey Feldman?
I'll check it. No, that one's tough.
Say my name.
Go back to sleep, buddy.
Okay.
I'll make you some popcorn later.
Ooh, I get to eat today.
He gets to eat today.
But I couldn't, like, I feel like a genuine worst album of all time for me is like something that I would relish in, and I never want to fucking even think about this again.
It's like that B horror flick that's just not bad enough to be funny.
Right. But it's like, even those, I can put on my phone and ignore it. But like, this was 37 minutes long and I couldn't do it. It took me 5 times, 5 attempts.
Wills, what do you think?
As for me, I will start my thoughts out by reading you an excerpt from a press release from Roadrunner Records, Korn's record label, in regards to this. Jonathan Davis states, I want to trailblaze. I want to change things. I want to do things we're not supposed to do. I want to create art that's different and not going to conform to what's going on. You picked a hell of a time to not conform to what's going on by making a brostep record in the year when brostep records were the flavor of the year in electronic music. I vehemently dislike this album, and I'm perfectly willing to declare it like a worst of all time album. Not for any sort of lack of quality, but for the complete lack of identity beyond this is the Korn dubstep album. Like, if Korn wanted to do a dubstep album, I mean, clearly this album shows that was a bad idea on its face. Don't do a Korn dubstep album and make it like a canonical studio release. But, like, if the idea was to do, like, an electronic album, they should have mixed it up a little bit more. Like, yes, get Skrillex and Noisia. Don't get all the other guys. Get some other kinds of people. Get a glitch hop producer. Get
Do it on, like, 1 or 2 tracks.
Get an IDM producer. Get an agrotech producer. Get a bunch of different things so that it's not all just one slog, like, the whole way through. And you guys only get one Skrillex and Noisia track, okay? That's all you get.
Especially
These are the rules.
Kind of combining forces with a genre that kind of insists on the same tempo the entire.
Pretty much.
There's very, very little deviation.
The same tempo and the exact same, like, rhythmically patterned drum beat too.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is gonna be like just a swimming upstream sort of thing. But Pat, what would you say is the best or least bad track on this album?
I'm gonna go with the single "Get Up." This was hard because I really didn't like any of the songs. I think they were all pretty embarrassing.
What is this one called? Get Up?
I had to look it up.
He's literally just yelling at his dick.
Same question for you, Tyler. What is the least bad track on this album?
I think Chaos Lives in Everything for me, but I really can't say if that's just because I wasn't so sick of listening to the album yet.
was still
that being the
fresh.
first track and everything like that, it was still fresh. But it's a good like mission statement song for what they're setting out to do with this record. It describes the rest of the record very well.
Same question to you, Josh. Least bad track on this record.
Man, I stand by what I said at the beginning of this whole thing when I said that the first song was the best and all goes downhill. I think in terms of like just musical moments that had the most parts that you could say like, yeah, this is music. And then the rest of the album, it's like it becomes more of a question mark and more of like, this is music, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna stick. I don't remember any of the titles.
Music in quotation marks.
Not even that. Like just like music in like wingdings.
I'm gonna say my least bad track is My Wall, entirely on the basis of that riff, because that doesn't make it a good track. That just makes it the most tolerable to me. What would you say is the worst track, Pat?
I'm gonna go with Sanctuary. It was, you brought it up earlier where there wasn't really anything distinctive happening, and it was for me just the most sort of like continuous dubstep annoyance, just like throughout. There was no break, and there's just nothing interesting happening, and it was just at that point in the record I was so fucking sick of it, and like would honestly take something just like the least bit obnoxious just to like put it through and have my brain like notice something. I guess that song just did absolutely zero for me.
How about you, Tyler?
I would say the same song. In fact, in my notes for Let's Go, I actually wrote down, is this a better song or is this just not Sanctuary?
Right on.
I don't really have much to add to what Pat said, but that sums it up nicely.
Same question to you, Josh.
I would have to say either Narcissistic Cannibal or Illuminati, because both of those I think really reveal like the absolute void that is Jonathan Davis's personality. I really felt like I got to know him the most from those songs, and fuck you.
Yeah, they're extremely vapid lyrics.
And I mean, and the fact that he starts the explanation, as Tyler said, for Illuminati with like, yeah, you know, I think it's a really interesting topic. It's always been like kind of like a pet interest of mine. Like, if they exist, cool. If they don't, cool. Obama!
My worst track is Chaos Lives in Everything. I mean, the writing on this album is atrocious. I just feel like that one has the absolute worst lyrics out of all of them.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
The biggest, like, sort of, like, the most sort of, like, lyrics where it's literally just, oh, fuck you up sort of thing like that. Not even trying to couch it in any sort of pretension towards, you know, verbosity or anything
Yeah,
like
and I
that.
think the gonna rape you, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah, that's not cool.
That's not very
pretty fucked up.
PC in 2011.
Man, you got into the lyrics. I didn't even. I had no idea what.
Oh,
was
you know what
going
else
on
there
for this
was? There was
entire-
a total there was a total like Joker moment where he says, "Sometimes I want to kiss that frown." Is that like?
Oh, boy.
Man.
Do you suppose he lives? Do you suppose he lives in a society?
I think no, we live in the society.
Yeah. We live in the society that allowed this to be produced.
Oh boy.
So,
You know what? It's over now.
We did it.
We're done. Thanks for being on the show, you guys.
thanks for having us. Yeah.
You guys got anything you want to plug?
We are gonna be opening up for Consider the Source.
Oh yeah.
On December 7th at Sonia in Cambridge. And this is a particularly exciting show for me because I've been a big Consider the Source fan for a number of years now, and we have almost opened up for them, I think, 2 other times.
I think so. Yeah, the first time the festival in question that we were playing with them was canceled altogether, and I'm not thinking of what the second time is, but I believe there was.
I remember
There was,
that
yeah.
the Fire Festival.
Yes, that was
Yeah. And so, like, this was cool because, you know, this wasn't kind of a luck, like, oh, hey, like, also Consider the Source is going to be playing. Like, we were asked to open the show.
So they came to you.
Their manager or their agent did. Yeah, they hit us up. And that feels cool to be in that situation for me, because I feel like we've worked really hard to kind of establish ourselves as a group in the greater Boston area that, like, oh, you guys play any sort of variance between fucking metal and weird fusion, like, hit up Geff.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so that's neat.
Yeah, and not to, like, you know, suck your guys' dick or anything, but
Please do.
I genuinely think, like, you guys are, like, probably one of the best prog acts in the state.
Damn, dude, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, and it's not just, you know, the fact that you guys both play Chapman Stick. It's I was very impressed the first time I saw you. I remember when I think we played together at PA's.
No, I thought it was O'Brien's.
Or was it O'Brien's or
O'Brien's?
PA's?
One of those two. They're like the same venue.
Might as well be the same thing. This was back when I was in Calvin Ball.
If it was a Calvin
actually.
Ball gig, it was PA's.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that was
Yeah.
PA's. That was
Yeah.
2015, and I think Valence was there too. Yeah,
I think I remember that show.
and yeah, I remember being like, yeah, fuck yeah, these guys are like proggy, but they're not overly metal. They're doing a lot of cool jazz shit, and yeah, I would highly recommend you guys check them out on Spotify and
Very
wherever
cool.
music is found.
Thank you.
Have you got anything you want to plug, Pat?
Well, December 17th at Once in Somerville, Butterscotch's going to be doing a show, and Smell actually might be hopping on that show as well. Just waiting for final confirmation from everyone.
Also, there's also that Vos show that's happening in that same sort of period of time.
Oh, that's right. Vos and Surprise Party are playing a show together, so you can check out Lils and
at the Jungle Community Music Club in Somerville with support from Witch Cake and Dead Trains.
That sounds like it's gonna be a fun.
That sounds
show.
like a great,
Yeah, that sounds like it's gonna be a lot of
Definitely,
fun.
you don't want to miss that one. When's that? Is that like the 13th
that's like
or something?
the
December.
14th, I want to say it is.
Yeah, it's kind of
14th
around
of
the
December?
same time, in the middle of December. We'll nail that down and figure that out before the next episode, which we're recording tomorrow.
Right.
Cool.
Not to date this episode.
Yeah.
As for me, the Jilted Generations, the Prodigy tribute album that's raising money for the National Suicide Lifeline is still on Bandcamp. Just go seek that out. Also, just yesterday, I put out the first single from a new dark synth pop project I've got called Fatigue.
It's so
which
good.
is funny considering we were saying fatigued so much today. And anyway, the song is called Pageantry, and from what I understand, people seem to like it quite a bit, even though my singing voice is kind of garbage.
Oh, stop.
Okay.
Everybody's voice is garbage.
Especially Jonathan Davis.
Jonathan Davis. But he
So
owned
yeah,
it.
go check that out. And I guess that about does it for this podcast. Our theme song is Sunny Day by the band Froggy and the Friendship. Go check them out at froggyandthefriendship.bandcamp.com. If you have an album you want to suggest for us to review or just want to leave us some feedback or a comment, email us at jukeboxzerospodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/jukeboxzerospodcast or on Twitter at twitter.com/jukeboxzeros. You can find us, rate us, review us, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or you can check out our archive main page at spreaker.com/show/jukebox-zeros. Jukebox Zeros is a production of the Zero Science Network. For more great podcasts, go check out zero-science.com. And that about does it for Jukebox Zeros. I'm Leos.
And I'm Patrick.
And remember...
Are you scared?
Good night.
Zero science.